by this Big Nate and the Big Nate Streaming Circus. It's time to spin that dime. Okay, here we go. We're going to rhyme on time and spin this dime. So when I'm spinning a dime, that means I'm trying to articulate to you, the viewer, that the world may not be as bad as you think it is. Now, granted, the media, they really like to give us bad news. And that we all know that bad things happen to good people every day. So we need to try to stop that. We need to try to articulate a little bit to each other and say, hey man, I know you're from a different mother, but we got to look out for one another. I don't care if the ice are undercover. I just wish they would do it to not so many brothers. It looks like there's going to be this is really hard for me to talk about sometimes. Immigration law has been pretty laxed for several decades. Granted, not nearly the percentage that they're saying of people who are here illegally are criminals. There's no way there's that many. I mean, there are a lot. But I would say it's probably less than 5% of the people that live here are doing something nefarious between the borders. Okay? Less than 5%. Now, there's a lot of people who are like, well, if they're here illegal, that's breaking the law. Understand that. But there are a lot of people here who don't know what the process is to get the asylum that they want. They may have crossed here illegally, or maybe they were born here to illegal parents. But now they're pushing that, well, just because you're born here doesn't make you American. Well, how far are we going to go back to that? Because all of us were not Americans. I was born here. My parents were born here. My grandparents were born here. My grandparents' parents weren't born here. So does that make me an illegal? Just saying. That's less than 5 generations. And I can get my ancestry back to the mainland of England or Germany or wherever they came from. Mostly England, Ireland, England, Scotland, that kind of thing. Anglo-Saxon. But that being said, does that make me an illegal now because I was born here, to parents that were born here, to grandparents that were born here, to my great-grandparents that were born here, but my great-great-great-grandparents weren't. At least some of them. I'm just saying, how far back are we going to go? Is it until you say, oh, well, their parents were illegal? Okay. Well, weren't my grandparents potentially illegal under the same, logical train of thought that you're putting down? I don't think so. I mean, I really just, there's got to be a amicable way for good people that want to be Americans to become Americans without having to cost them an arm and a leg, literally, like other people that they love. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Now, I grew up in California, and my grandfather had a lot of migrant workers, what we called pickers. They would come and pick the oranges. They would come and pick you know what I'm talking about. So the Latino and Mexican people that were in Southern California or Central California, San Joaquin Valley, basically, around Fresno, Orosi, Visalia, they were all picking fruits and vegetables and stuff, feeding Americans, no less. They were providing cheap labor to put food on our tables. What more American can you be? Helping your neighbor out like that, not really getting much money for it. Okay? It wasn't until they decided that they wanted to become unionized and certain families married. There were actually two very large, prominent picking families that married into each other, like Romeo and Juliet, but without the death. And they joined forces and became one of the largest producers of picking labor that there was in California. And I remember federales would come and people would run because they knew that there was a chance that they might get sent back. And my grandfather, they're like, where are they going? It's like, well, they're not working today, I guess. Now, there's a lot of people that were like, well, my grandfather broke the law because he hired illegals. He didn't know they were illegal. He just needed people to pick freaking oranges or pick grapes or pick whatever so that, we could eat. And I'm talking about our family because he was in charge of, managing those crops and getting them out of the fields and getting them to the tables of people. Now, he also trained my cousin and I on how to work, from a very early age. I mean, my cousin and I were both driving tractors and forklifts by the time we were, 7 years old? So, I don't know. You tell me. I got a hernia from working for my grandfather when I was 4. Lifting logs, basically. Like whole rounds and stacking them. And I was 4 years old. I mean, we're talking pieces of wood that are basically as big as me. I'm picking them up, rolling them, doing whatever I can to move them. And I ended up with a hernia and I had to get surgery, blah, 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 blah. It wasn't that my grandfather was trying to abuse me. He just figured, I was big enough to handle the load. He didn't look at my age as being a detriment. He just saw a big kid that needed some direction, needed to do some stuff, needed to, contribute. If you're going to eat at his table, you had to work. That's his rules. And he was a hard man. I mean, you did not want to cross him. But there again, he was also fair. He only punished me when I did shit that was wrong. Now, there were some times where I made a mistake and it was an accident, but because it cost money, and money was kind of tight, that it became an issue, and I'd get spanked because I wasted food, or I lost money to them because I dumped something down on the ground, or whatever. That was a little harsh, but it taught me a valuable lesson. Now, you're probably wondering, well, why would your grandparents beat you? Well, because that's just the way it was. My grandparents were there watching me. My mom was working. My dad was working. They were trying to make a better life for me. And so I would go in the summer times and spend a lot of time with my grandparents. And I'd help out the farm, and I would be there sun up to sundown. There was a time where we lived on the farm with my grandparents in a separate house that he owned, because we didn't have a house of our own, so we lived there. Rent-free, we just had to work it off. So my dad would do his job, and then on the days off, would run the tractor. And that didn't go over so well, because one day he got like heat stroke, and that wasn't good. So Grandpa kind of gave him a pass. So what does he do? He teaches me to drive the tractor. Oh, that man. Hard man. I remember when I broke my grandfather. I was 12, and I was down visiting, and I made him angry, and I did something, I said something, that 12-year-olds do, and he spanked the shit out of me. And I looked at him, I go, are you done? Did you get enough of that? And he beat me again because I was obstinate, and I was being difficult, he said. So he kept beating on me, and I said, are we done? Because, I got other things I could be doing with my time than turning my ass into a hamburger. Not one tear shed for that man on that occasion, and it broke him. He was done. He would never spank anybody ever again. Ever. Never hit my sister. Sister was his princess. He loved her. She got away with murder. I'd get in trouble because I like to eat. So I would eat her food because she'd leave it on the plate. The rules didn't apply to her. I had to finish everything on my plate. So I thought I was helping her out, and I'd eat stuff on her plate so that she wouldn't get in trouble. Well, that's not the way it works. They were going to save it for her. I'm like, what kind of bullshit's that? You sit at the table, if you take something, you have to eat it. That's just the rule. That's the way it was. But she got away with more than I did. Now, granted, my sister's a really good person. She was brought up right. I got no complaints. She takes care of my mom now because I'm in Florida and she's still up in Washington. Mom just got out of the hospital. So I'm on here today to let you know that I'm still kicking it. I'm still trying. I'm still doing what I do. And if I get followers out of this, great. If I don't, so what? I'm not doing it for you guys. I'm doing it more for me. I mean, it's kind of like my therapy. I get to talk to somebody. Even though you guys are out there in the interwebs or wherever you're at least I get to talk to myself to get my thoughts up right. All I know is that I'm doing stuff and I'm trying to make a better life for myself, and it's difficult right now. I came from an area where I was doing really good, but it cost so much to live there. So we moved. We basically moved on faith. I'm glad we did because my daughter and her family need the help. I'm glad that I didn't go to Virginia. I did go to Virginia, but I'm glad I didn't stay in Virginia. I'm much happier with my wife and my dogs and my cat. And my son's trying to get himself together, and I'm proud of him. But things are they're not easy. It's not easy. Definitely not easy. But nobody said it was going to be. See, that's the thing. Everybody's looking for the easy way, or they want things to be better. You have to make them better. You have to be willing to go out there and go through the hard times to get to the good times. It's just the way things are. That's just life. We can sit there and complain about who's in charge or what have you. But it's not going to change until we decide to change it. So I'm just hoping that there are enough people out there, regardless to what side of the line you're drawn on. People call it bipartisanship. I don't even call it that. I just want people to be kind to one another. Just want people to be able to live in the same town or street even, or next door, without everybody losing their freaking minds. I mean, you get what you put out there. So if you're putting out hate, if you're putting out ill will towards people, you're going to get that back tenfold. So when, certain persons get up on a stage and they say, I hate my enemies, that's not what God told you to do. At all. If you believe in God, you know what I'm talking about. Do unto others as they would do unto you. So if you don't want people to try and take you out, stop trying to take them out. If you don't want your people to starve to death, then maybe you should help somebody not starve. It's just that simple. It's easy. It's not hard. Just be kind to people. It is so much easier to be nice and treat people with respect than being just a complete and utter dick. I mean, you know how much energy people spend just hating on each other when they don't have to? Nothing's forcing them to do that. Just because they have a difference of opinion? Look, I may not agree with everybody about everything that I think about, and God knows there's tons of people out there that don't agree with me, and that's fine. But you don't have to be asses about it. You can just say, hey, I got a different opinion. And I'm like, well, I'd like to hear that sometime. Can we sit down and talk about it without losing our shit? God knows. Only God knows if people can do that or not. I just want us to understand that the only change that's going to happen is if we make it happen. And if enough of us that are closer together in the middle of these two sides decide that we've had enough, then we can make that happen. We may call it the Midgard Party, a bunch of Vikings. I don't know. I know that people, the left, the right, the reds, the blues, I'm tired of it. It's like name calling. You know what? We're all people. We're all humans. And we have the right to believe what we want to believe. But we also have the duty, I said duty, we have the obligation to not besmirch, belittle, or just utterly hate somebody because they have a difference of opinion. If I had a Muslim friend, they're Muslim, great. If I have a Christian friend, they're great too. And they're going to believe what they believe, and I don't have a problem with that. A lot of people are like, well, what do you believe in? It's like, I just believe in the energies that we put out intermix with one another. The universe is basically a collective battery of all these different energies. We take in things to our body to create energy that then stimulates our body and our mind, which we then adapt, because if your body didn't have a soul, in my opinion, if it didn't have a consciousness behind it, you're just basically a pile of meat. Even cows have a soul. They may not be very conscious of it, but they feel pain. They get hurt. We eat them. But then again, there's some religions that don't eat meat. Now, you can say that the largest organism in the entire world is a rainforest because they're all interconnected somehow. I forget where that is. It's either I think it's the Amazon rainforest. There are sections of it that all of the plant life are intertwined. They're all connected. They all feel things. Much like, it's kind of like where they got the idea for Avatar, the movie. The interconnected pathways and stuff like that. Now, we often think that plants are not sentient, but there's a lot of proof out there that plants get stimulated by outside outside forces like music and speech, and obviously, just having somebody. There's plants that react to people just coming into the room. Like if let's say they've been in the room all night without any people, when a person comes in, they can literally feel the energy change by the little test that they were running, which I thought was pretty cool. Now imagine that on a human level. You go into somewhere and there's lots of different ways for us to interact. You can walk into a room and feel the presence of other people and the mood and how it changes and it swings left to right, up and down, front and back. And I'm just giving directionals as kind of an example. But I mean, if you were to walk into a room with an attitude, I guarantee you're going to turn people away. People are going to they're going to be like, well, I don't like that guy. Just from your attitude, just from your presence of mind and body and spirit. You may believe that or not, and that's fine. I believe that. I know it's true. Because I've walked into a room and I was happy, and I was jovial, and I was smiling, and I turned more people to that type of attitude. And I also turned some people away. They were like, oh God, not this guy. Because they didn't want to feel that way. They wanted to feel anger. They wanted to feel pain. They wanted to feel upset. Because that's what their mind or their consciousness, that's what they believed they needed at that time to make themselves better. Like if someone were to die, you're going to go through all these different emotions. You're going to wonder why. You're going to be hateful to the people that maybe, killed them, or to the situation. And then you're going to get upset and you're going to get sad. There's all these different emotions that you go through. The gambit is there. But I guarantee you, eventually, you will get through it and you will find your happiness again. Because I honestly believe that humans have to have at least some positive in their life in order to exist. If they don't, they die. It's very simple that way. If they don't have something that makes them happy in their lives. And a lot of people are like, well, if they have something happy, they can be taken away and then they're sad. There is that. But people are looking for escapes from reality, from their day-to-day. That's why they get hooked on drugs or alcohol or whatever, or porn. Whatever. They're going to find some sort of outlet to break that consciousness, basically. I want everybody to try it this week. I just want everybody to try to be more happy about being who they are. And try, if you're not happy about who you are, try to make it better. That's all. It's an easy task. Just look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm going to do this because Big Nate told me to. No. I'm going to make my life happier by being happy. Look, I'm not saying that you're going to be happy right off the bat, but if you work towards it, it's something that's just like a muscle. You can make yourself happy and stay happier. I've known people that they're happy all the time. You never see them get upset. I don't know how they do it, but they're really good at it. All right, people. I'll see you next time. Peace out.